Welcome back to Gen Z Unplugged. This week, we're actually going to be sharing with you a speech that I gave at our 2024 College Women's Summit in Nashville, Tennessee. And this speech is all about the messages that young women are receiving about what gives life purpose, what gives life meaning, and what it really looks like to live the good life. So I hope you all enjoy.
It is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Lauren Husman. Lauren has served as a program director for the Luce Center since September of 2023. She graduated from Virginia Tech with a bachelor's degree in human development. While in school, Lauren planned events for her university and worked in guidance counseling in the public school system. Instead of pursuing graduate school for counseling after college, Lauren decided to join the conservative movement to promote family values among young people in a struggling culture. Lauren works with women on college campuses, helping them host a conservative speaker or visit the firearms range. She greatly enjoys managing the Luce Center's robust summer internship program. Lauren is dedicated to equipping students to combat the lies of leftism and encouraging young women to live fulfilling lives based on biblical truths. Please give a warm welcome to Lauren Husman.
All right, so I'm sure that my name sounds familiar because I've been in your email inbox for probably the past 2 months. So here's a face to a name. It's been really fun to get to know many of you throughout the summit so far. And yeah, to just see a lot of familiar faces. It's been really fun. So I'm going to talk to you all a little bit about marriage, family, and feminism today. But I also want to welcome any questions during the Q&A about our programs or anything you're curious about in terms of the Luce Center. I would love to answer those questions as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. And I want to tell you all about this ad that I saw on YouTube recently that I thought was the perfect setup for what I want to talk about today. So I saw this commercial for one of those supplements that supposedly helps your memory and focus. Not sure if those really work, but there was an ad for it. And the scene started with this woman who was trying to finish something for work when she kept being interrupted by her husband and her kids. The woman takes one of these supplements and suddenly she's hyper-focused and her distraction, which is her family, just disappears. And then the next scene shows her nailing a big presentation at her job. And the ad finishes with these words: focus on what matters most. So the issue with this is not that the mom wants to focus or that she has a job. That's obviously fine, and I think Liz talked about that last night. We're okay with that. But the issue is that these advertisers chose to say that it's her job that matters most. And the creators of these types of commercials have 30 seconds to capture your attention, right? So they want to choose something that really, really resonates with their target market. And they could have chosen a student who's trying to study for an exam. They could have chosen to do a surgeon who's preparing for surgery. There's plenty of things that require focus. But they chose a mom distracted by her family. Why would they choose that? Well, it's because they know what the dominant view of women want. They know what we think the view of the successful woman is. And the successful woman is supposed to be someone who prioritizes work and views a husband and kids as a hindrance to real success. A strong, independent woman who doesn't need a man, right? I'm sure that you guys are receiving those messages all the time. And this is the vision of the good life for women today. And progressive feminists have been spewing this messaging about what the good life is for the last 60 plus years. The feminist movement, which kind of started as a pursuit for equal treatment and voting rights, has evolved into this anti-man, anti-marriage, and anti-motherhood campaign. And feminists tell women exactly how they should live in order to be happy. First up, you need to be staunchly pro-choice, because if you get an abortion, you can get that promotion you were hoping for. You need to hate men for imposing the patriarchy, but you also need to date and sleep with as many men as possible. But make sure that you avoid guys who want to lead and provide because that's toxic masculinity. And don't choose to be a homemaker because that means that you've given up on a fulfilling life. We're told that this lifestyle is the key to happiness and freedom. According to feminists, a woman's virtue lies in putting herself above everything and everyone else. Now, I know that many of you live in a community of conservatives, which is amazing, but you're not hearing these messages directly. And I know you see themes like this in the media all the time, though. It seems like every movie I watch makes some mention of the oppressive patriarchy. My Instagram feed is filled with videos of girls who want to burn all men. That's a trend. And modern women, as we've seen recently, can't decide if they value democracy or abortion access more. And the buy-in to this messaging among women, especially Gen Z women like you, is huge. The view of the successful woman is so prevalent because elite feminists are the ones who control the media and all public perception of the female experience. They are the professors of your women's studies classes. They are the journalists in the mainstream media. They're put in positions of authority and they're deemed the truth tellers when it comes to women. And they have so woven their beliefs about marriage and family into our society that radical feminism just appears mainstream. They assume that we've already kind of accepted their notions as fact. They think, of course, the oppressive patriarchy exists. Of course, marriage is really just a trap for women. And of course, having a child will stop you from achieving your dreams. If you raise any questions about these things, you're suddenly anti-woman. Progressives have enticed us with these promises of happiness and freedom, but in reality, those promises never come to fruition. So where has all this anti-marriage, anti-family messaging left us? Well, since the 60s, when all of these radical feminist beliefs began to take root, the rate of happiness among women has steadily declined. The lies they tell us have ultimately led to generations of sad and lonely women. And let me give you an example that I think illustrates this well. So a couple of years ago, I saw a video on Snapchat News where this woman was shouting her abortion. And if you're not familiar with that trend, it's where women will kind of brag and flaunt their abortion in order to destigmatize it and be accepted by society. But as this woman was shouting her abortion, she revealed tons of aspects about her experience that were deeply tragic. After her procedure, she was heartbroken and devastated. She described herself as depressed and anxious. But with therapy and with time, she was able to finally flaunt her abortion with pride, despite the occasional moments of sadness that she still feels. Abortion always ends in heartbreak. But feminists will tell you that you're overreacting, that you're sad because society can't accept you. And if you regret your choice, you're really just eroding progress towards reproductive rights. Feminists are far more concerned with pushing an agenda than the effects of their ideology on real, actual people. And women are suffering alone, and they're suffering in silence. And I really feel for them because the good life that they're selling us, it's all a scam. It turns out that the ruling class of feminists are deeply out of touch with what women actually want. In fact, the majority of women put a really high value on family. The Luce Center conducted a major poll earlier this year on the values of 18 to 29-year-old women, and the results are both surprising and extremely encouraging. So 68% of those we surveyed want to get married and have a baby before they turn 30 years old. 64% think that hookup culture is actually pretty harmful to women, and almost 80% think that a woman who chooses to stay at home is just as successful as a woman in a professional field. So the data is pretty clear. Women want to have families, but feminists would tell us that these desires are really just the result of brainwashing. They say that the patriarchy has manipulated us so much that we don't even know we're oppressed. But you and I know that women just have a natural inclination towards marriage and motherhood. And it's not something we should run from, but it's something that we should lean into. You don't have to follow the feminist instruction manual that's handed out to you by your peers or your teachers or maybe even your family. The real good life is a completely different story, and it includes marriage and motherhood for a lot of women. So I actually just got married this September. Thanks. Thank you. And I actually can't recommend it enough. But I did get a ton of shock from friends who thought I was way too young to be settling down, right? And a lot of my peers have bought into this idea that life gets really boring after you get married. They think you're tying yourself down, that you can't travel the world anymore or invest in a thriving career. I guess no one told them that you can't buy plane tickets for two people instead of just one. And well, they're so wrong. I'm only 6 weeks into marriage. I can tell you that my life has gotten even better with a husband. We have tons of fun together, and having a partner to do both those exciting things with, like traveling, and the mundane things with, like doing the dishes, is truly a gift from the Lord. Now, the culture is going to tell you that the ideal man is a passive, doormat type of guy who kind of just acts as a side character in your life, kind of like Ken from the Barbie movie. And many guys have become that way. Tons of Gen Z men are non-committal. I'm sure I don't have to tell you all that. They'll ask for your Snapchat instead of your phone number, and they won't call you their girlfriend despite 6 months of exclusive dating, right? It's insane. But girls are putting up with it. Girls have put up with it for so long now that it's kind of become the new standard for dating. And I don't want to put all the blame on women because obviously men are responsible for their actions. But women in our generation have really helped to lower the bar. But you can't settle for that. You're allowed to seek out a guy who's a great leader. It doesn't mean that you're not a strong, independent woman at all. It just means that you trust what God says about marriage. And I married a man who's a phenomenal leader in our relationship, and I promise that there's nothing at all toxic about that. Because he's also a huge supporter of my work and actually wants to see me succeed in my career. He even helped write some of this speech. I promise guys like that still exist. I met mine at ministry. I recommend church. There's a lot of good places to meet guys. Tons of couple friends I have met online, so that's an option for people. Now, I also want to talk about motherhood because I know many of you are really excited about being a mom one day, and maybe that's even your number one dream. So don't listen to friends or family who scoff at that. And if you choose to be a full-time homemaker, that's amazing. Stay-at-home wives and mothers are an integral part of many families, and they're also incredible servants to their communities. But that's not your only option either. And I think Liz touched on this too a little bit last night. If you want a professional career and kids, you're allowed to choose a job that's based around having a family. There are plenty of flexible careers out there. So, in summary, there are so many ways to be a successful woman. Maybe to you that does mean success in your career. But what if it also meant marrying someone amazing, or raising a child, or volunteering every weekend, or all of those things? There are so many paths that lead to a happy, healthy life that are outside of feminist parameters for success. So, to draw back to the beginning and that ad we talked about earlier, you should focus on what matters most, not what some marketing firm is telling you matters most, not what the culture is selling you, and definitely not what feminism has promised you. Focus on what truly matters: loving your friends and family well, serving God in your work, and living a life that reflects truths women have known since the beginning of time. This is the vision of the real good life. Thank you all so much for listening. Okay. Would love to take any questions you guys have. Again, feel free to ask about our programs too if you're curious about the Loose Center.
Okay, come line up over here. Your name, where you're from, and your school. Oh, sorry.
My name is Mary Fowler. Oh, my name is Mary Fowler. I go to Christendom College, but I'm originally from Arizona. And I wanted to ask you about actually like the engagement phase of a relationship. It's it's kind of more of a transition, obviously, from just dating to becoming husband and wife. And as someone that is in the near future gonna be in that. I'm
Ooh,
just
congrats.
yeah, I want some advice on how to like kind of deal with the engagement phase because I know a lot of people say that it is like the worst. And I'm kind of scared, especially with the prospect of it potentially being longer than what I would want, you
Right.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was engaged for 11 months and it was definitely it was long, but it goes by a lot quicker than you think. You're making decisions all the time. So it honestly is a really good opportunity to kind of have obstacles to cross and hurdles to overcome with your significant other, with your fiance, so that you can almost have like practice for all the decisions you're going to make in marriage. Because again, I'm 6 weeks in, but I'm realizing that marriage is a lot of time a stream of small decisions. You know, you have those bigger ones, but I think planning a wedding, being engaged, having to make those decisions really bonds you so that you feel even more prepared when you come into marriage. But yeah, it goes a lot faster than you think if you're about to head into a long one. I have friends who have been engaged like 2, 3 years, so hopefully it's not that crazy long. Good, okay, but yeah, I think it is a really sweet opportunity, and to just soak in that time with your family and friends too. Because I don't know, like especially if you're living at home and then going to move in with a husband or something like that, really soak in that time with your parents because I already miss living with my parents. They're the best. So, yeah, there's a really sweet opportunity there to soak in those times as well. But thanks.
Hi, Lauren. I'm Annie, and I'm a recent graduate from Christendom College. I just wanted to ask what your thoughts are on the 4B movement and if you've heard about it from kind of extreme left feminist women and what that societal impact could be looking into this election.
Yeah, that's a great question. I was hoping someone would ask about that. I read about it just a couple days ago. And for people who don't know, it's this movement of feminists in, I think, South Korea is where it started, where they kind of just swear off men. They swear off marriage. They swear off like friendships with men. And I think it's incredibly destructive. And after Trump got elected, there's a lot of women who are pledging to avoid men completely. And that's so the wrong response. And what it does is it pushes men more into this passive, non committal lifestyle that we're seeing that's such an issue now. So the more that women do that, the more issues we're going to have with guys because they're going to say, well, what's the point of even trying? So I think if you guys want to take action against that, I would just be so strong in defending the men in your life. Like I really look up to my dad and I really look up to my husband, and being able to say that and show your appreciation for men really helps other girls to understand that hey, all guys aren't bad. We don't have to burn all men, and that swearing off guys definitely is not the answer. So yeah, thanks for asking about that.
Hi, I just want to say thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. My name is Lindsay. I'm from Arizona and I go to Grand Canyon University.
Mhm.
I was just curious with society's different viewpoints on dating, how did you guys keep your spirituality and keep God above your relationship instead of being codependent to each other? And what did that look like? And how did you notice it in your husband before you married him that he was equally yoked?
Oh my gosh, this is the best question ever. I'm gonna give a little bit of backstory. So I did a lot of dating in high school, and maybe some of you have that background too. And there wasn't a single time where I was in a relationship when I even considered that guy being the one, despite like multiple years of dating. And so when I met the man who became my husband, it was within like 2, 3 months that I knew he was the guy, just like what you're saying, because of his spiritual maturity. And it was great because since we were in the same like friend group, ministry group, he showed me who he was before we even went on a first date. So if you're able to really like kind of observe, not in a weird way, not like that, kind of observe how he acts and how he serves the Lord and how he like leads maybe other men or whatever, Bible study, whatever it is, you're already gonna have a really good basis for what he's gonna be like to you. So I know people always say this, but you actually, when you know, you know. That's very true. So yeah, I think you'll be confident, and it especially helps when you can have those observations beforehand. But yeah, great question. Thank you.
Okay, I think this will be our last question. I might have one after, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay.
Hi, Lauren. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Victoria, and I'm from California, but I moved
Nice.
to Kansas State. And my question is if college is something, I'm planning on going to nursing school.
Mhm.
If college is a priority for me, but like marrying someone is as well. I'm in like a relationship with this guy, but I'm going back to Kansas this spring. Like, how do you balance that and like, I don't know, like he's like feels like the right one, but
Yeah.
like I don't know, like long distance, like what would you like just go and do college and then like if he is the one it'll work, like kind of like
Yeah, so you're going into college
I'm
or
a
going into
sophomore in
nursing school.
college. I went to Kansas last fall, but then I came home
Okay.
for about a year. But I'm going back this spring just to
Okay.
kind of finish up and see if that's where I want to finish my college
Yeah,
career.
definitely. Well, if you choose to do long distance, if you're supposed to marry that man, like nothing you do is going to mess up God's plan for your life. So it will stand the test of time. I know lots of couples who had years of long distance. One of my friends, her entire engagement, her husband was like essentially deployed. So they're like, obviously, it's going to stand the test of time. In terms of making those decisions, it's so case to case. But I think a lot of times there's this pressure to always choose school or career over the person you're going to marry. And that isn't necessarily the best response for every single girl. Obviously, it's really important. And I think prioritizing your education matters a lot, but there's no harm in considering how it might affect your relationship too. So again, yeah, really case to case, but I just know that if it's going to work out, it'll definitely stand the test of time, regardless of how many miles are in between you two. So thanks for asking.
Okay. One more question. What was your favorite part of last summer with
Oh,
our internship?
so Estella was a summer intern last summer. And if you're not familiar with our program, we take about 7 girls every summer, and we have a really robust internship program. And I think my favorite part about having the interns with us is just the joy that was in our office. We had an exceptional group. Interns, would you raise your hands? So these ladies spent the last summer, yeah, yes, they're amazing. So I think if you see them interact, you'll see how much of a bond there was between them and just hearing their laughter. And they would come to my office and ask me questions like maybe every 20 minutes. But I loved it. And now I miss it so much. So they're the best. Highly recommend applying. But thank you, Stella, for asking.
Absolutely. And we're going to have lunch now, but give one more round of applause to Lauren.
Thanks.